Hello, everyone.
I mean, there's so much cultural conditioning to obey, to doubt yourself, to doubt your inner voice, to quiet you down. But when you do have your own back, when you do know yourself, when you are aligned with who you are, you're just very powerful. So I grew up in Paris, France, which sounds really romantic, but is actually a place that tends to focus on the negative. So growing up there, I just always felt like things are always going to hell in a handbasket. There's no hopefulness. When I moved to the US for college, I was like, oh wow, there's hope here, positivity. People think you could do anything if you put your mind to it. But after a couple of years in the US, I realized that people were really burning themselves out. After that, I went to China for a couple of years and I saw people who had absolutely nothing and were grateful for everything and were so resilient and strong and powerful. And I realized, you can have everything in the world and still be poor on the inside, or you can have just enough to survive and be wealthy on the inside. I ended up getting my PhD at Stanford University, and I studied ways in which we can increase our sense of happiness and our connection to other people. How these kinds of techniques like breathing, like meditation, can help people be more resilient on the inside.
Our next guests know a thing or two about mindfulness and happiness.
Yeah, they've been on the show before and have a wonderful message. Dr. Emma Seppala is the author of the Happiness Track.
So, for some quick happiness hacks for parents, we've brought in Emma Seppala, PhD, author of the Happiness Track. Thanks for coming in.
Her work has been featured in the New York Times, ABC News, Forbes, the Boston Globe, U.S. News and World Report.
Hello, everyone. It is such a pleasure to be here with you today. My field of research is the science of happiness, of well-being, of fulfillment, and also of resilience.
10 years later, during my postdoc years at the University of Wisconsin, I decided to do research with veterans with trauma, whom traditional treatments like medication and therapy hadn't worked. 1 week of this breathing practice helped reset their nervous system back to normal. The breathing practice was equivalent to or better than the gold standard therapy for post-traumatic stress, which is cognitive processing therapy. And at the level of the brain, the breathing had greater impact on emotion regulation.
What we found was that a decrease in startle response correlated with a decrease in hypervigilance or self-reported startle.
You can do all the happiness practices. If you don't have inner sovereignty, then it almost doesn't matter. I was really hard on myself, and actually what the research shows is that increases anxiety and depression, it decreases your resilience, it decreases the quality of your relationships. And I was, involved in ways of thinking and acting that were standing in my own way. And sovereignty is gaining awareness of those things and then being able to become free from them.
If we look at eudaimonic happiness, that's actually the source of much more long-lasting well-being. You could even think of it as fulfillment.
That is one way to fast forward your ability to be at your best and to be so innovative.
The one thing nobody's probably ever learned is how to handle their emotions. We've never learned it. What have we learned to do with our emotions, most of us? Suppress them, right? Then research shows that suppression actually makes our emotions stronger. So if you suppress anger, you actually get more angry.
But at the same time, realizing that, it's that sense of purpose and love and compassion and it's something outside of ourselves. Like, what are we doing to make this place better?
I spend about an hour and a half every day doing yoga, breathing, and meditation. You could think of it as an investment, but I don't even think of it that way. I really just think of it as like a daily hygiene, just like you shower, like I take care of my nervous system. Breathing practices give you inner sovereignty because you don't need someone else. You don't need a drug with side effects. You don't need a person to have the ability to reclaim your inner sovereignty. Every interaction you have with another human being is an opportunity to uplift them because your well-being allows you to show up as your best self and it makes everyone around you happier. You actually have an enormous impact and a ripple effect that you aren't even aware of. So just know that as you go about your day, just take care of yourself and take care of others. And that is the greatest secret to happiness and well-being.